It seems like the market really does not appreciate Alphabet or Google anymore. Since ChatGPT came out, since Microsoft investment in OpenAI, it really does seem like the market and maybe just the financial forums, let's say, are not respecting how powerful Alphabet, Google, DeepMind actually are. More recently, this came out, OpenAI working on web search product. So apparently OpenAI has been developing a web search product partially powered by Microsoft Bing, a source told the information. After that, Google stock went down 3-4% because of the fears of, well, yet another headline, someone's coming for Google search dominance. As we've spoken about this in the past, we've seen the statistics, we've seen the amount of people that still use Google search on desktop and on mobile. Nothing really has changed. And to give you even more numbers right here, in terms of understanding how far ChatGPT has to go, Google got an estimated 84.2 billion visits, while ChatGPT got an estimated 1.6 billion in December. Now, of course, I'm not one to say that what has happened in the past will not change in the future, but right now, the disrespect towards the company Google Alphabet is really reaching a level where it just doesn't make any sense anymore. I understand that every week there are some new advancements in AI, but I did ask on X, I made a poll in the last couple of years, right? With all the announcements, with all the investments, the billions, the hundreds of billions of dollars invested in AI. Personally, for you on a day-to-day basis, how much has your life actually changed? Probably not as much as you would think after listening to all the groundbreaking news, right? But going back to the investment point, if we look at Google stock, Alphabet, if we look at their valuation now compared to its 10-year mean, and then of course comparing it to its peers, the other big tech companies, it is now the cheapest of the bunch. 21.2 times forward PE, 12.1 times EV to EBITDA, 5.2 times price to sales, and price to free cash flow 25.6 times. That's in the last 12 months. If we compare it to Microsoft, which Microsoft I believe now is the most valuable company, Microsoft is more expensive than Google, and not even by a little at this point. Even compared to Microsoft 10-year mean, it is way more expensive. Now, of course, there are a couple of reasons for that. Growth rates, momentum, sentiment, all of that factors in. All of that factors in when the market values a company. So, okay, fine. I agree. Satya Nadella, one of the best of the best. Sundar Pichai, maybe not the best of the best. We've been critical about him on this channel already a couple of times, and rightfully so, I guess. I mean, if you look at the Magnificent Seven, the CEOs there, he's probably last place right now. A lot can change, but right now, he really does not give us the sentiment of, oh, we are confident, we are Google, we are the biggest one out there, we've been investing in AI, we've been developing AI features, etc., etc. Look at this, look at that. If you look at OpenAI, for example, a so-called non-profit turned a profit closed source network, they are basically now an AI marketing company, right? Every week they come out with something new. More recently, they came out with OpenAI Sora, basically text to video, very, very impressive, as you can see here on the screen. And it's funny because every time Google comes out with something, they immediately have something to release as well to get the attention back to OpenAI. I'm going to talk about the announcement that Google made, DeepMind made more specifically, in just a second, because it is very, very impressive and underrated, and I'll explain the whole thesis throughout the video. Before continuing, if you enjoy this type of videos, leave it a thumbs up, subscribe if you have not, would really appreciate that. If you want to support me even further, do check out the link down in the description and in the pinned comment to get the top 10 best stocks to buy now, or go to fool.com/couchinvestor. Thank you very much. Now, first up, I want to touch on the core business for Google, right? Advertising. This is a nice picture by Quarter. It's an app, not quarter 1, 2, or 3, Quarter, QURTR. If we look at the 3-year CAGR, we have YouTube and Google, of course, under the same company. 10% 3-year CAGR for YouTube, which had seen a little of a slowdown. Then we've got 26% 3-year CAGR for Amazon, incredible growth there. We've got 12% 3-year CAGR for Meta with an acceleration more recently, and then 15% 3-year CAGR for Google. So again, where does that huge disrespect come from when it comes to Google? They're still performing very, very well. And as we've seen more recently in the recent earnings report, revenue from 2022 to 2023 increased 9% year over year, operating margin 27%, operating income of $84.29 billion, net income $73.79 billion, diluted earnings per share of $5.80. If you look at the different segments here, everything is still growing. Yes, there are some couple of segments that maybe were expected to grow a bit more, but overall, this is a business that is still growing quite a lot, that is still very, very profitable. Google Cloud, although still very small, I think the future is quite bright when you look at that segment. And then, of course, you have buybacks, billions and billions of dollars in buybacks, which, of course, increases the value of your shares. Now, maybe in the future, they'll do a meta move and issue a dividend as well. Remains to be seen. But going back to the AI thing, right? Right now, each and every week, we've got new announcements, AI this, AI that. Some people say it's a bubble, some people say it's hype, it's a nothing burger, etc., which everything might be true at this point. But the point that I want to make here is that there is just so much advancement in such a short amount of time that for the, let's say, normal person, day-to-day life, it is impossible for that person to actually follow every new thing that comes out. And so, what is the most important thing? The most important thing here is the distribution. Is the company, the platform that already has all of the users, or at least the majority of the users. And so you're thinking about companies like Google, Meta, and Apple, for example, right? And more specifically, Android, iOS. These types of devices. This is a Google Pixel, for example. I've made a case for Google Pixel for quite a while. Google controlling the whole ecosystem. Google shipping out AI features to your phone, not to the cloud, bringing AI capabilities into your hands. This is how you get people actually interested and actually using AI products. Not just talking about new models, 1 million tokens, 100,000 tokens, you name it. No, actually putting the tech into people's hands. We've talked about PC AI with regards to Intel. We've talked about Qualcomm's chips as well. Finally, bring power, AI power to your desktop, to your hands, and not leaving it in the data centers, in the clouds. And of course, when you've got the distribution, right? When you've got the user base, it is way easier for you to ship out the products and monetize it for the long run. OpenAI, for example, I mean, we've heard some rumors that somehow they want to come out with their own devices and stuff like that. Why do they want to work on their own web browser, right? Because they also want their own web distribution. Yes, there is Bing, but as we've seen from the numbers aren't great right now, despite the browser not really being such a different thing. But at the end of the day, it comes down to habits, right? We are programmed to say, just Google it. Go on Google and search for it. We're not programmed to say, just Bing it. I've never actually heard someone say, can you Bing it for me? It just doesn't happen. It's the power of habit. Probably a very, very good book. Now, more recently, Google, more specifically with DeepMind, they came out with Gemini 1.5. Now, I want to read you one specific thing here from the report. Of course, the report is very, very long. They give us plenty of examples. Some of the videos will come up here on the screen, but I want to read this sentence right here. Studying the limits of Gemini 1.5 Pro's long context ability, we find continued improvement in next token prediction and near perfect retrieval over 99%, up to at least 10 million tokens. A generational leap over existing models such as Claude 2.1 and GPT-4 Turbo. Of course, you might say, yeah, but they're already working on GPT-5, and that might surpass what Google has released right now, etc., etc. Okay, could very well be. But at the moment, this is what we've got. Now, for those that need a bit more of an explanation, I'll explain like we're all 5 years old, because I needed that explanation myself. So what are multimodal tokens? And I'll explain what next token prediction is and why near perfect retrieval is of extreme importance. So to put it shortly, multimodal tokens are basically special labels that help computers understand different types of information, just like we use words to explain things to friends of ours. So if you have, let's say, a car in front of you, there are labels that will say red toy car with 4 wheels or red metal box with 4 wheels, etc., etc. So basically these labels can translate pictures, words, sound, and even smell into a language that a computer can understand, and so it can connect all the different pieces of, let's call it, the big puzzle. Then when we talk about next token prediction, so it's like playing a game of find the next word. That's what the next token prediction does, but for the computer. For example, when I say once upon a time, you know I'm going to talk about fairy tales, or at least you can link it to fairy tales. Then with regards to near perfect retrieval is basically finding the information that you actually need. You have a huge library, you have to find one specific book, or maybe even more specifically, you have to find one specific page inside a book. And so you go to the Uber librarian and you ask, and that librarian can find that page for you. Why is that impressive, or why is that important? Well, because let's say you've got a huge company with a lot of documents, you can put all of those documents into Google's AI Studio, and then you go work with chatbots. You're like, can you find me when XYZ happens and tell me exactly what happens next? A couple of seconds goes by and you've got the result. You can do this with pictures, you can do this with videos, as they've shown you on the video right here, with the moon landing, with other stuff as well. Even a scribble can get you the right results. It's pretty impressive, and the fact that they're already right now at 10 million tokens, of course, the more tokens, the more information, the more labels, but also sometimes it gets a bit too much, so that's why the 99% plus retrieval is very impressive. All of that is just to say that despite what we might have been hearing or reading on the internet, probably through Google search, Google Alphabet should not be disrespected. To Google Alphabet shareholders right now, I do think that buying the weakness makes sense. I currently do not have a position in Alphabet. I did have a position when it was at $90, said it's the opportunity of a lifetime. Took that opportunity. If the market gives me an even better opportunity right now, I might open a position yet again. But I do still think that the market, that the disconnect here, the sentiment just doesn't make any sense. We're not talking about here a small AI startup. We're talking about Google Alphabet. So that's all for me in this video. Of course, do share your thoughts down in the comments below. If you enjoy this type of videos, leave it a thumbs up, subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.